you for coming, guys. In planning for the session this afternoon, the thought was, how do I pitch it? Do I use it as an opportunity to talk about what men's ministry is, or do I use it as an opportunity to talk about how to develop a men's ministry? So I've decided to put both together, a bit about what men's ministry is and also how to create a men's ministry. But let me start by asking, do you currently have a men's ministry running in your church, a consistent men's ministry in your church? You're from Barnsley? Nothing there? Okay. Mm-hmm. One in York and Leeds. Excellent. And an active WhatsApp group. Okay, that's something. That's something. Okay, that's better than nothing. Definitely, definitely. Yeah. Okay. Um, men's ministry has been around for a while, but in the North England Conference, only in the last session did they vote someone to be men's ministry sponsor. Now it is a sponsorship, and I'll explain a little bit of that in just a minute. So why have a men's ministry? Why do you think we should have a men's ministry? Any thoughts? It's a conversation, guys, so please feel free to share your ideas. Uh-huh. They are the leaders. Uh-huh.
In most churches, uh, you would find you hardly find an elder who is a lady.
Mm.
Most of the elders are men,
Mm.
and they are ahead of the families. So I think it's very important to have that ministry
Mm.
to start with us as men,
Mm-hmm.
as head of the families.
Okay, yeah, that's a very good reason. Thank you. Thank you, Israel. Any other reason, any other ideas contributing to that, why you think we should have a men's ministry?
Okay, maybe one reason why we should have men's ministry. I'm sure we want to try and find ways we can evangelize as men to other men,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe also then take it further to our relations. Create, a safe space for men in church.
A safe space for men.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just use an example from where I come from.
Yeah.
Overseas, over ponds.
Which is where?
Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe. Okay.
So in Zimbabwe, religion is seen as something for ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Men are just busy doing something else.
Okay, so it's seen as religion is for women.
It's
men got to get on with
men
other stuff.
go busy, make money, etc.
Yeah.
So I'm sure men's ministries are the thing that something has been done to try and show people that men as well are also there in the ministry. It's not for women only.
Okay, not for women only. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I think to add what Wizard said, and if we find if you look at the ratio,
Look at
the ratio,
the ratio
ratio
okay.
between men and women in church,
Uh-huh.
right? Women are more in most churches compared to men.
Yeah.
So if we start this men's ministry, right, that might also help to evangelize.
Okay.
Even my friends.
Yeah.
Who are not Christians.
Sure.
To come into church.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it can help to evangelize.
Yeah.
It can help to reach men
Yes.
with their role.
Yes.
And it can also help men by creating a safe space. What do we mean by a safe space for men?
Basically, men are seen as strong and, they don't share their problems. to other people.
Mm.
Because in some cultures, men are seen not to cry.
Okay.
Yeah, men don't cry.
Men don't cry. Men don't cry.
You're a man, so take it cool.
That's
Yeah,
it. That's it.
so when we have that safe space,
Mm.
I think
We can cry.
exactly.
Sure, in the safe space, we can share. We can share.
I also think if you look at the demographies of men versus women in the churches, you tend to find that there are more women.
Mm.
But even in the society, I've noticed that men tend to die more at a younger age than
Yes.
women.
Uh-huh.
Some because of certain things that they do.
Okay, lifestyle, yeah.
The lifestyle styles that they have. And if we have a ministry like this, it will go a long way
Uh-huh.
in bringing men away from some of
Those
things,
lifestyles.
to change
Okay.
their lifestyles. Because
Okay.
one joke that I got was that the one told me that men die young because women bewitch men. But
Men die young because women bewitch them. Oh, interesting. Okay.
but
you that's not your idea. Someone said that. Someone said that. Okay.
I'm saying this thing, but it's not true. There are various reasons, of course,
Yeah.
why men tend to die
Mm. Younger.
more than women. Because, for
Okay, yeah,
example,
more.
they are involved in very tough work.
Okay.
There are more men at the front of battle
Sure.
of wars than women, and the men usually tend to take some risky things
Behaviors,
than women. That's why you tend to find that in the community there are more women.
Mm.
There are more women in the community than
Yeah.
men. I don't think it's a question of bewitching.
Sure. All right.
I think
Okay.
that probably I might suggest that why men die early, it is because men, right? They don't want to go for a checkup. They don't want to go to the hospital.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one major reason,
Okay. Yeah.
right? If a woman,
Mm.
right, is feeling any minor ailment,
Mm.
she will go to hospital or
Go
she
to
will
the
take
doctor.
some
Yeah.
medication.
Mm.
But if a man says, "Can you take me to the hospital?" He's almost dying.
Yeah. Yeah. He's gonna be on his deathbed. Uh-huh. Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these are some of the reasons why we can have a men's ministry. I know you wanted to come in. Pastor, please give me your name again. Please forgive me. Frederick, yeah. Thank you, Frederick. Pastor.
Yeah, so one point that I wanted to add to my brothers,
Uh-huh.
talking about bringing men together,
Yeah.
motivating them for missions. I believe it's an established fact that when you reach a man, you can reach the whole family.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point I wanted to make.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. You're absolutely right. So there's many reasons why we should have a men's ministry. Many reasons indeed. And these are just a summary of some of what we've said. To minister to the needs of men, where men can open up and share their vulnerabilities, their needs, what's going on for them. To motivate men for personal growth, so challenging negative behavioral lifestyles, and to motivate men for the master, that idea of bringing them evangelism, bringing them to Christ, bringing them to a better way of living through knowing the Lord Jesus. And one basis that we could use to suggest why have a men's ministry is that Christ himself, he selected 12 men to be his disciples, which some could say was a form of men's ministry. But of course, the principles that he laid down there, we could also apply to women, because it's really about discipleship. But nonetheless, they were men that he pulled together, that he trained, that he developed, that he worked with, that he processed some of their vulnerabilities and their needs as well. Now, the word minister, this is by David L. Beck. He says it's means to love and care for others. So if we talk about ministering to the needs of men, to love men and to care for their needs, it means to attend to their physical and spiritual needs. Put simply, it means to do what the Savior would do if he were here. So men's ministry is really about attending to their physical and spiritual needs. How do we minister to these men in my local church? How do I meet their needs? How do we as a men's ministry meet the needs of the men? So yes, it's all that we have said and more, but we also have to think, how do I meet their needs? And I think this is probably common for most of our churches. Men and young men often arrive at a point where they feel or think that the church has no relevance for them. Church no longer seems to meet their needs or fails to address their issues, and so they sometimes slowly drop out of the church. You know, they don't want to take part in a church. As we said already, men have a lot of things to do. Church is for women, so men tend to back off. But part of it, when that's happening, is because the men's needs are not being met. And or, in addition to that, as Wizzy said, men may not feel safe. A certain brother was going through some financial issues, and some of the members had put some money together to help him. But then he found that what was done, which was a good thing, a charitable gift of love, but that it had been spoken about across the whole church. So when he came to church, he felt embarrassed that everybody knows my business and that as a man, I'm struggling to feed my family. So that dented him and his experience. So not only must we then try to meet men's needs, but we have to try and keep a safe space. So that's why I asked the question, what do we mean a safe space? Or a space where we can feel comfortable to share. So he felt comfortable to share. He shared that he needed some financial support, but then something happened. Was that a safe space for him? What went wrong in that situation?
The problem might be that you'll find, for example, when you're in someone of authority or an elder or a deacon, right, in church, when someone approaches you with a problem, right, you shouldn't divulge that problem to others. Yeah, to others. You'd find that is why this gentleman, right, didn't come back to church again.
Because they divulged what had happened.
What happened?
Okay.
Which is very wrong.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is very wrong.
Yeah.
You shouldn't do that. You might. The thing is, the situation might. You might, guys. I'm not going to mention names, right? But one of us is struggling.
Yeah.
Right? Can we do something? Right? But you giving it might be a challenge again. Probably other church members might not trust you again, right? To hand over money, right? Or else you should find someone to trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So that if you collect that money, right, instead of you, right, handing out that money to that gentleman, you find someone who is going to hand over that money to that gentleman. Yes.
Because
obviously, if you hand over, the thing is probably they don't trust you what you're saying. They want to know the name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so in that situation, keeping confidence is very important, even though you have to deal with the logistics of the administration of who that money goes to and how that money gets to them. Yeah, go ahead, wisdom.
Okay, maybe the other thing that might help us, the issue of relationship or rapport
Mm-hmm.
as men. Let's just say you are men from Yanfield Church.
Mm-hmm.
Before we minister to each other's needs, the safe space part of it. I'll just make an example of
Yeah.
what we were yesterday. You know that at first there was this ice,
Mm-hmm.
but the issue of saying Israel, who is it? Israel, who is it?
Mm-hmm.
To some extent, you kind of feel safe around those people.
Mm.
You begin to say that, oh, this guy can laugh, or this guy can laugh, oh,
Mm.
actually he can talk, something like that. So, but in our churches, let's say we have relation first.
Mm.
Because if I have problems with the guys I call my friends, I don't even think twice, Even if he gives me money, I don't even think twice. But maybe if someone just pops out of the blue, especially in church, I'm like, no, we've been checking here. We noticed that you, you have some problems. I don't know. Just addressing it from the side of men, there's this ego in us. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's right, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So if there can be a chance of building relationships first, like let's be every effort, invest in relations.
Yeah.
Then I can even accept your help without even thinking twice because I know whatever it is you mean life. Yeah.
Sure. And that's very key. Building relationship. I'll just write it on here. Building relationship is very important in establishing an effective men's ministry. And I'll add to that. Building relationships of trust. We've started a men's prayer group in the North England Conference. It's been going for almost 2 years now, thank God. It meets every Sunday morning from 8 a.m. till 9 a.m. every Sunday morning. And we invite men to come into that space. It's a prayer zone just for men. And we said from the very beginning 2 things. One, we have to make it a safe space. And safe means that if we talk about, let's say, a brother is dealing with prostate cancer, and we talk about prostate cancer, and a brother shares that Sunday morning that they're going through prostate cancer treatment and how embarrassing it has been for them as a man, that whilst we might, after the meeting is finished, we might share with another brother the content of the meeting. Hey, we had a meeting Sunday morning, prayer time, and it was really good. And somebody was sharing about how they're going through cancer, through prostate. And I didn't realize that, I need to think about it myself. That whilst we might share some of the story, we never share the names. We created an agreement that this is our safe space. We can share content, but never names. It's anonymous. It's confidential. And we share the content only when we think it can help somebody else. It can encourage them, to let them know that we're having something good going on in this men's space. Why not come? That was the first thing. And then the second thing was respect in building trust. That if somebody shares in the group and says, let's say, they're a married man and they say, for example, that they are struggling to maintain an erection, for example, when it comes to sexual intercourse with their wives, that we respect them. We don't laugh at their story and say, what? You can't do it. You can't do it. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? You're not a real man. You're not a real man. You need to drink some of this. We don't make jokes about personal stuff. We respect them. And if somebody's saying something that we don't agree with, we don't just shout them down and say, oh, you're stupid, you don't know nothing, you must listen to me. No, we respect everybody's opinion. So we create a safe space, just using a different color, providing it works. We create a safe space of trust that's built on respect and confidentiality. And that we make that clear to the men every Sunday, or we repeat it, maybe not every Sunday, but we repeat it periodically. And then I also asked for this to be put in, which I thought was very important, that the group and the content and so forth, so to speak, needs to be protected. What do I mean by protected? If a brother comes on the group and is being disrespectful in a funny kind of way, or something, that I, as the group leader or the next person who's leading, will say to that person, that doesn't happen here. You have to cut it in the bud. You have to nip it in the bud respectfully. You don't tell them off, you don't shout them off or anything, but you just have to say, Jack, sorry, can you just hold on a minute? So-and-so just shared something. We need to remember respect. You police it. You protect the group. If you don't protect the group, then it will not be a safe space. People listening will know that if there's no protection, that these things happen here, and then they'll say, nah, it's not safe. I'm not coming back. So those are things that are really important if we are going to build an effective men's ministry. Going back to Jesus with his 12 disciples, do you think it was a safe space? Do you think that was a safe space with Jesus? With Jesus. With Jesus. Okay, sorry, maybe the question isn't so clear. Do you think, as Jesus was building his discipleship with the men, do you think that was a safe space for them with Jesus? Jesus being the center of that group. In other words, do you think Jesus was a safe person for them to build a relationship with? Maybe not with each other, but do you think Jesus was the safe center?
My answer to that might be not always. There are situations whereby Jesus would actually leave the group to be on his own. Because these disciples, he had some differences on their own.
Please speak into the mic.
Yeah, they had differences within that group. So I can't say it was a safe space for Jesus. I probably need some bit of correction.
Okay, well, yeah, maybe it's the way I'm asking the question then. They found Jesus as a safe individual, so they could always share with Jesus. They may not have always felt safe with each other, but Jesus provided protection, Jesus provided respect, and Jesus provided confidentiality. So in that way, and he was always building trust with them. He was doing that with them. So that became a safe space for them to come into, although they may not have always felt safe with each other. And that happens with any group setting. But as men's ministry leaders, then it's important for us to try and to build that relationship of trust if it's going to be successful. So looking at, I was talking about men in church. There's this book written by David Murray, not Furrow, Murray, and he mentions about how men struggle with church by us not being intentional to meet men's needs. Let me go quickly now because time's almost gone. So some of the needs that men have these are just some of the needs. In each of our churches, there will be men who have these needs. If not all, there's a search for identity and manhood. That's always the case for every man, regardless of the age that we are. 18 or 28, 38, 80, we all have issues with regards to searching for identity and manhood. Who are we, or who are we to be? Self-esteem connected, loneliness and isolation, depression, guilt and shame. Even married men sometimes feel lonely. Sexuality, sex and sexuality, sexual identity and pornography. In our current society, there will be men who will be thinking, am I straight? Am I heterosexual? Or am I homosexual? It's not because there's anything wrong with them. It's because the way our society teaches people to think. And we need to be mindful of that. And again, if somebody comes to the group and gives an idea that I'm struggling with my sexuality, we mustn't laugh at them and say, are you a man or are you a woman or are you what? We must respect them and try to guide them to the biblical model. Pornography, it's a major issue in our church. Not every man, it affects a lot of men. It's rife, it's all around. Popular culture, substance use, gambling, partying, stress and anxiety management, employment issues, aging, life changes, ill health, marital issues, parenting issues. All of these issues will affect most, or if not all, of the men in your church. Someone might be dealing with this, some others might be dealing with this, some others might be dealing with this, but you can guarantee your men are going through something of this. So the question is, how do we, TC, how do we meet those needs? How do we minister to the men? We can put on Sabbath school, we can put on divine service, we can put on AYS, but ask the question, are we ministering to the needs or are we just doing church? How is it in your church? Do we do this? If we're honest, do we do this? We don't. So if we're not doing this, this is what's happening. In your church and my church, this is what's happening at this very moment. Sorry, the wrong way. Because we're not doing this is taking place. And it's not intentional, but it's just because this is the way we've gotten to do things. We do Sabbath school, we do AYS, we do divine service, we do the next week, and we do the next week, and we do the next week, and we assume that the men are okay. But then we see the problem when it comes to nominating committee. Where are the men? So we experience the problem, but we're slow to do anything about it. Imagine if next Sabbath or one of the Sabbaths you plan, or with your pastor or whoever, your leadership team, you plan in your divine service to talk about biblical sexuality. You may not get many people saying much, but you'll be meeting the need. Or to talk about loneliness and isolation and how men sometimes lead to suicide. There was a man who took his life in one of the churches that I've gone to pastor just recently at the beginning of this year, and nobody knew what was going on for him. And that was a big grown man, a married man. Stress and anxiety. We assume that we're all okay. You know, we turn up as we did last night. We play a game if we're good. First of all, we don't even play games, do we? When we come to church, we don't play games. We just say, hi, how you doing? Da-da-da-da-da, and we go our way. But then we don't often share because we don't feel safe. So why am I going to come and tell Wizzy that I'm struggling at home with my marriage? Or why am I going to tell my pastor that I'm struggling with work? Because, I'm just feeling tired and exhausted. Dan, the microphone, please.
This is something that we need to change in our churches. We need to change our culture. What we have at the moment is that we just go from one week to another with formal service. This kind of paradigm is old and it's not working. So basically what I would like to add as well in addition to this is because we want to create a group of men in the church to have their meetings, to have their time together, whereby that particular environment creates, or an atmosphere creates, belongingness,
Yeah.
and creates a safe environment for everybody.
Mm.
So this kind of addition to what we have at the moment are very important.
Mm.
And I would like to point out that in my district, we have started the care group ministry. It's called cell group or small group, but we have care group ministry whereby the people in that particular group, 8 up to 12 of them, are gathering together every single week, not in a formal service like in the church, but it's a very informal where true fellowship happens. And in that case, they are there, not just Adventists grouping themselves together like cliques. However, we intentionally say to them that you need to have a seeker. 6 months, if you don't have a seeker, we are going to dissolve this group so that you can join the others. But we have a core team in that particular group that meet every week to pray and to have an accountability meeting as to how they can improve the group.
Wow.
I'll just wrap it up. Every time, every Friday afternoon, somebody offers their home to host these people.
Wow.
And there is food.
Yeah.
There are 2 songs. There is simple Bible study geared not just for the Adventists, but for the seekers, because they're inviting their neighbors and friends. And then there is a time where you can be heard, and there is a time to listen.
Sure.
And then there is a time to pray for each other. So by God's grace, it's a pioneering work in there. But we have 5 groups at the moment, and each group has an average of 4 seekers. They are non-Adventists.
Okay, excellent.
And half of them are receiving Bible studies.
That's wonderful.
So if we can do something like that
for
and
men.
for men,
Yeah,
then that would be
definitely.
very, very appropriate,
Yeah.
and would, really supply what we need, because there is a time to be heard and to be listened to.
Yeah.
There's time to listen as well.
Yeah.
And so the discipleship there is taken care of, the nurturing is taken care of, and also the evangelism part is also taken care of.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing that, Dan. That's really, really powerful, because that could really work with men, because then it's building the trust, but it's meeting the needs. And as Dan mentioned, it's creating a sense of belonging. And out of that belonging, you get the discipleship. The disciples felt as if they belonged with Jesus, and men need to feel as if they belong to each other. Camaraderie was what you see taking place in all army settings, camaraderie. So I'm going to have to wrap up. But the aim of men's ministry is to address men's needs while teaching men to grow in faith and service to the master, to become fishers of other men, which can take place, as Dan has said, in such a small group where men feel safe. The theme of the North England Conference is created in God's image, hence the t-shirt here. I should have brought some so you could buy some. But you can get one if you really want one from me. And the aim is to seek to develop effective men's ministry in local churches across the conference. And we do that by working with men's ministry leaders in the local church. Very quickly, based on the idea of being created in God's image, we have 7 growth areas: to be spiritually responsive, to know God; to be mentally sharp and inquisitive, to develop in our mental reasoning; to be emotionally balanced and empathic; to be socially responsive and relatable to other men and family members; to be physically strong and fit, so we look after our bodies; to be creatively inspired and able to procreate new life, so we are creative individuals. We encourage men to be creative, as well as we value that idea of being able to have children. And also, we are loving and kind and empathic and playful, accountable as a steward of the Lord. So that's a summary of men's ministry. If you're wanting to develop a men's ministry in your local church and you don't have one just yet, then please speak with me afterwards. I do have another presentation entitled How to Build an Effective Men's Ministry. I can send that to you. We do have some books here. Now, if you are wanting to build up a men's ministry in your local church, then do speak with me, because then we can get this book to you. It's sourced by the North American division. It's Adventist Men's Ministries. It's a guide to help you set up a small group, as described by Dan, for men's ministry. The idea of bringing men together under a purpose that is to glorify God. And we also have these other books that can help in your development of a local men's group. This book I've written for men, which the Lord has blessed me to write, Wisdom for Men. It's a small book. It only costs about £2, which is a fantastic gift to give away to a friend who's non-SDA, as well as for SDA men as well. But it's all about trying to become the men God wants us to be through his power and his spirit at work in our lives. Wisdom for Men from the book of Proverbs. And you should be able to get it from the press who's here at the moment. There are some pens here. You can take one, please. And then in terms of future development, if you do want myself or one of the team to come to your church to work with you in collaboration in developing the men's ministry there locally, please speak with me. I'll speak with the team. We can arrange something. We need to increase the number of men's ministry leaders across the conference who are rightly trained, who will be able to do an effective work for the Lord. Thank you so much. Do we have any question in 2 minutes, and then I have to wrap up? You give me some extra time. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Do we have any questions? If I can ask then, I think I already asked. You have a WhatsApp group. There's one in your church. There's nothing in your churches. Okay. One of the things I would suggest about starting, I'll just quickly see if I can bring this slide up then, about how to take it forward if you have a desire to start a men's ministry in your local church. Take it to God in prayer. Find a biblical basis for the ministry. I suggested one that is Genesis 1:27. We are created in God's image. Talk with your local pastor and elder or elders and request and plan a time to call the men together for a chat or a prayer about how men's ministries can meet their needs. This is surveying their needs. We spoke about the needs already. It can be a social, a men's pizza, a film night, whatever. Just gathering the men together, even after a divine service, just calling the men together for 10 minutes after, have a quick chat and a prayer. But get the men together to talk about it. It's basically the part of nurturing the seed. And then raising the profile, invite myself, the men's ministry sponsor, or the team, or host a men's ministry event in your local church. Do something that's targeted to the men. And then plan to have a regular space for men. And we spoke about the safe space as well. There's the men's prayer on Sunday morning. Please invite your men to come and join us for prayer on Sunday morning. I can give you the details for the WhatsApp group that we have. And lastly, invite the men to attend the NEC prayer zone. Even if you have something going already, still come along here on a Sunday morning, because then you can get to see how we do it. And that can help guide you as you seek to develop your own. We will be having some training for men's ministry leaders, because this is so important. Sometimes men's ministry leaders give up because they don't understand the dynamics of how to set up an effective men's ministry. So training is really important. Create a team. Don't work alone. It can be very lonely trying to work with men, because men aren't the easiest people to work with. Create a quarterly plan. and share with the local leadership. Be consistent and gain feedback. Be consistent is really important. Because we're not consistent sometimes, men then start to feel, well, you're not really serious about meeting my needs. You're not really serious about men's ministry. So we have a lackadaisical attitude. But when you are consistent, that's sending a message to the men that the church is intentional about men. And that draws men. And the best person to win a man is who? Another man. Another man. And that's what it's all about. If we can motivate and train and meet the needs of men, we will then naturally be saying to our work colleagues, this is what's happening for me at church. You know, we had a conversation about da 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 da. A father going through troubles with his son or his children. We're able to share about it and talk about it and pray about it and feel encouraged. The man shares with the next man. So it's a wonderful ministry. So there we go, guys. Those are my 2 minutes.